I hate Blizzard. Now, Overwatch doesn't need an introduction. In fact, it's in its best time right now. They went through this whole rebranding of just being Overwatch now, and the game has hit its news peak just about a month ago at over 100,000 players. But if you're an OG Overwatch player like myself, then you'll remember one key man. That man being Jeff Kaplan, which if you don't know, he was the ex-director for Overwatch. He was essentially the face of the game. And the reason why this man was so important to the game is because, not because of just like, you know, making sure the game works. He was someone that was so passionate and actually showed his love towards the game. People love this guy's character. He's always very like soft-spoken, but like he was charismatic. He always put his whole heart into his game. When Overwatch first came out, you couldn't divorce him and Jeff Kaplan apart. They were one the same. I remember back in the day where people used to make a lot of memes or like YouTube clips of Jeff. Not to make fun of the guy, but just because people just thought he was a great human being. But in 2021, to a lot of people's surprise, Jeff actually decided to leave Blizzard and Overwatch, his baby essentially. Now, there were a lot of speculations on why this may have happened. There are some whispers and murmurs here and there, but it wasn't until today, 5 years later, where Jeff actually speaks out on why he left Blizzard. And to be honest, it's pretty sad. We'll get into more detail in a second, but basically he was getting bullied from the CFO. Jeff recently did an interview on this podcast channel where he went into more detail. It's 5 hours long, but the most important part is this 2-minute clip of it, getting into the meat of things.
For me, like what sort of ultimately broke me in my Blizzard career was I got called in the CFO's office. He sits me down and he says, he gives me a date, which at the time was 2020. Overwatch has to make in 2020. And then every year after that, it needs a recurring revenue. And then he says to me, if it doesn't do $, we're going to lay off 1,000 people, and that's going to be on you.
Actually, just like Satan levels of evil right here.
And that was just the biggest fuck you moment I had in my career. It felt surreal to be in that condition. That was, I had believed I would never work anyplace but Blizzard. I loved it. It was a part of who I was, and I felt I was a part of it. And I literally thought I would retire from the place. I never thought the day would come. Luckily for Blizzard, that CFO is no longer there.
I do hate it when some like the worst things in life happen to like some of the nicest people out there. Like, I get it. A business needs to make money. They need to meet a certain amount of sales and revenues, right? And if they need to let go of people, then so be it. The 1,000 people is pretty significant, right? That's not something to easily glance over. But if you're in a position of power and you pin that all on someone else, that's just like psychotic, dude. I swear. One of the most important things I learned in my working life is that you should never think of any company as your home, because they can always just like point a gun to your head at any point in time. And it's very sad that Jeff thought he would retire at Blizzard, that this was like, he treated this as if his home, his family, and all they do in return is just dust them, man. Blizzard and controversies are like a match made in heaven. You always hear about it, but I feel like this one here kind of struck the heart a little too much. This is a great example where you just don't give your life to any company, because they owe nothing to you. They could backstab you anytime. As Jeff said, fortunately that CFO doesn't exist in the company anymore, but it's just sad that someone who basically built this from the ground up was just spat on so hard in the end. This is why I hate higher up people, man. I hate like executives, because they're just so out of touch. All they care about is bringing money for the company, which, yeah, I get, that's their job, but have some people skills at least, man. Have a heart, a soul. I don't know, man. This is just really sad. Anyways, yeah, that's all I really got. Bye-bye.